In the following video, we will show you how to create a purchase invoice for a non-stock purchasing item. To do so, we will select purchasing from the left list. We will navigate down to invoices and we will select invoice control. So for this non-stock invoice that we create, we can select all Akiso supervisor entry transaction. So to create a new invoice, we can select new from the right list. As you can see that the invoicing site is defaulted, but if it needs to be changed, we can remove it. We can click on the selection icon and select any one of the sites that's listed below. Now we need to enter the invoicing type. The invoicing type will differentiate if we are creating an invoice or a credit note, or an additional invoice, or a credit memo return. So if we want to create an invoice, we need to select INV, which is the supplier invoice. The accounting date is defaulted to today's date. Now we need to enter the supplier. Once we have entered the supplier, we can see that certain information in the source and payment and management section has defaulted from the supplier setup. So now we need to create an invoice for the non-stock order that we created. So to be able to select the order, we can look in the left list at the order selection bucket. Then we can see that all the purchase orders that are currently linked to the invoicing site and the supplier combination. So if we select the last order that we created for a non-stock item and we tick the tick box, this will then now default all that order's informations into the purchase invoice. So here we can see it's now gone to the lines. We can see that the source was from the order. There's our purchase order number. And there's our product. And once we've entered all the necessary information, we can click on Create. Need to remember to enter supplier document number. So when the supplier has given you the invoice, you can enter their invoice number in the supplier doc number field. Then we can click on Create. Once we've clicked on Create, we'll see that a purchase invoice number will now have been generated. Once this invoice has been generated, we need to make sure that it matches to the actual invoice of the supplier. So we need to make sure that all the amounts match up so that we do not have any variances. To do this, we'll go to the Control tab. We'll scroll down and look at the excluding tax lines. And in the invoice minus tax or invoice tax amount, we'll need to enter the specific amount that is on the supplier's invoice. So if there is a variance on the invoice that the supplier has applied, you will be able to see the variance within this section. So the calculated tax amount is what Sage X3 tells you what the invoice needs to be, and the invoice minus tax is the amount that you enter from the supplier's actual invoice. Once you've entered their amount, if the field VAR tax shows you no variances, we know that it is balanced off. Once we click on Save, we'll see that the posting button now becomes active, and which means that we can post this invoice so that it can create an accounting entry for us. So now we can go back to the navigation page. To do this, we can click on Close Page.